Whew. Look around. Just have a quick look at, what's it called? Amelia's body, just to start with.
With her body, it's a museum of scars. There are slices, pierces, inward dents, growths and calluses. There are burns that have been covered up with layers after layers of skin. It almost feels like you're studying the layers of a cave that goes so deep with different types of harm that she then has adapted to over years. And you can easily date them each and know where they came from and perhaps what caused them. She had older scars that match with the date of this butler character having battled her as well. She had been hit by one of the flashbang shots as well, as an example.
What are the earliest ones that are there, Final?
You think it was mostly blunt trauma, hit by something bigger than her own size, which seems strange when you think about her current size, but you think she wasn't that big back then.
Okay. I was like, wait, what?
And you think she might have been abused and raped as she was going through the mutations.
Well, that's fucked up. At what time period was that then?
The apocalypse had already happened, and connecting other evidence, she had already, with the rest of the family, had suspected that the apocalypse is over, and hallucinating that the world is as it was normally, she had ventured out. It's early post-apocalypse.
When he's discovering these things, just say them out loud to the people in the room.
No, the anger from the drug is now slowly dissipating, and you hear Artemis talk about these things.
Now that I'm coming down off this rage, I'm hoping I have a little bit better clarity.
Yeah, mildly affected by it.
Then I would like to assess the situation now that I've had this experience, and I can think a little bit more rationally and just, get an idea for what Florida man does to you.
What you note from the drug are just very simple things. It seems to strengthen receptors in different ways. It could have a boosting effect for certain drugs. However, it does clash with downers, makes you very angry and agitated. It will actually override all kinds of pain to cause its own pain. If you think it's worth it to be agitated all over your skin to get rid of a certain pain, this would be a good thing. Otherwise, used in strong dosages, it can be very harmful.
Right.
Cinder, you're hearing Artemis describe his findings.
Cinder Center will ask Noel to turn off the electricity coming through the wire just so that we are safe from that, because that's a big jolt. And she will come over, examine Amelia, essentially say, anytime there's chaos reigns supreme, and it's not okay, and it sucks that she went through this. The other Cinder, the one that's downstairs, will kind of peek her head up, see what's going on, and go get one of the squishums, or whatever you want to call them, the womb.
Squish monsters.
Squish monster, and bring it up so that way it can clean up the blood and whatever gore is on the floor.
When Cinder says that, Sachiko replies, well, I was raped in a very orderly city, actually in a country that is famous for being orderly. So I don't think it's related to order and chaos. People are just rapists if they find the opportunity. She first wants to test something. She wants to see how self-aware the house is. So she touches the skin that usually summons Amelia to see what happens.
If Artemis sees this, he will run away. Like a coward.
Yeah, I should probably know while this is being done, I did do what Cinder said, and I am trying to fix the wire before someone gets slapped with 5,000 volts.
And this is what you hear after you touch the wall. Honey. You hear more crying. Nothing else.
Oh, God.
Sachiko says, if you can hear me, we are going to kill the rest of your family too. Okay, now I want to study Emilia's corpse. At first, only a cursory look.
First of all, there were many strains of virus that she had been infected with through different means. There are lots of different scars that resemble different necrons, so to say. After a certain point, the worst ones stop, the worst ones being those that you think would be for the shy necron. And it seems to be after a point of mutation. You are not quite aware of why they stop currently. So after a point, that no longer happened. Otherwise, you can find any type of scar almost you could imagine from the different guns and methods of hurting you've discovered throughout your journey in the first campaign. And that's about it.
With my biological knowledge, can I understand if she was raped by a human or by something else?
3 times in different occasions, you suspect the same human. After that point, no more assault that seems to be sexual in nature by anything else. Then a couple of very violent ones that you think couldn't have been done by humans.
Succ says, "Congratulations, everyone. We have rapist monsters in this world too."
Artemis puts his finger and says, I'll get the sewing kit.
So, when you say I can say a human has raped her 3 times, is there any way for me to identify what the possible human could be, especially considering the fact that we have corpses of other family members downstairs?
You can, in fact, because for whatever reason this is, there have been mutations that tried to replicate and even hold as evidence what happened to her. It does not match any of the family, though. And Artemis?
I'm going after the bad smell in case anyone wants to join me. Pointing very obviously at Reckless Cinder.
What bad smell?
Every time I turn the chip on, I can smell this sort of garlicky phosphorus smell. It's been going on since Arthur was in charge. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is, really. It keeps getting stronger as I'm going around.
I can tell you what it is. And then Succ tells Artemis about Kevin and the fact that she has seen through the footage that original Logan is having a mutation similar to Kevin's.
Right. So, would it be better to get rid of him or just leave him alone, then?
We left Kevin alone. He actually caused me some permanent mental damage when I tried to fuck with him too much. And also, you have to keep in mind, when you are in original Kevin's reach, you can't see the reality. And in that position, you are very vulnerable to the clone Logan attacking you from behind. So, even if we want to get rid of the original Logan, I think we should go with the clone one before.
Were these severe hallucinations? Because, Artie himself was having hallucinations at the time, and I also believe I had one previously.
Kevin, of course, we don't know if Logan would do the same, but Kevin would choose the most traumatic hallucination possible, so I kept hallucinating about my dad, who was also my rapist.
I've never hallucinated because I don't do drugs.
I would volunteer if you can, entertain yourself with an invention or two while I'm being done with this corpse. I would come along with you.
All right. He shall go down to the workbench and think of an invention.
Even as you're going, before you turn the chip off or before you go too far away, you can hear just cries of something that sounds like a child far away near the staircase. And it seems to be asking for help.
Well, that's creepy. He shall just briefly tell Succ that.
Succ reacts with, "Sounds like a trap."
Succ, do you need any help? Is there anything I can do to help you?
No, thank you. If you need any medical help, make sure to let me know.
I'm alright. Reckless pushed me out of the way of the fucking freight train coming at me.
Thank you, Reckless.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I didn't misunderstand something, Can I know more about her type of mutation and the lineage of her mutation just by looking at her?
There's something strange going on here. You can't quite study the strains of virus within her because something had changed them. It seems like they evolved while staying alive. There wasn't cell replacement. There wasn't strains of virus dying, new ones evolving. You think the initial viruses that she had been infected by kept changing with every strain of virus that was added in. In fact, you feel like there was a sort of communication perhaps between them, but again, it doesn't quite make sense with your knowledge of biology because you do know neither of these strains of viruses know how to communicate with one another.
This is something that I think I also gained from the baby's mutations, that it seems that the virus was adapting to the kind of virus that was coming in contact with it.
You can very easily dub dialogue over how the mutations happened in a comedic way, as if a virus came in and then they exchanged different traits and even history of how each monster or being had survived and then actually evolved together in different ways. That's why the original is not in any way intact for you to study in any accurate way.
But the original was able to learn things, yeah?
Again, it seems like it's a mess of mutations brought about by the communication of many viruses that cannot communicate. There's just, that's impossible because you don't see any sign of the viruses themselves having the means to understand one another or have a language.
Tell me what I will learn from the lot, please, in the next turn. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any, from my knowledge, are there any systems in the house which seem redundant because I can access them?
Yeah, there are lots of different things, but it depends on what you think their use might be for. Like currently there's something on that none of you have used, and it's the intercom system that would connect every single room to one another so that from each room you can talk to any other room.
No, I'm just thinking if there's any computers or systems that are pretty much redundant that we could turn into tech points.
You do know there are other systems in this place, so if you find the main computer, perhaps this other computer in the shelter would be redundant because that seems to be the mainframe computer, the one that's somewhere else in the house.
Right, okay.
Honestly, Cinder's just going to wait until the blood test is done and the invention is done because she really just wants to start exploring more, but she doesn't want to do it alone.
I've just been talking to Noel. I was wondering if there's any relaxants that he could use to help with the hallucinations. So I'm thinking he could help with the hallucinations by being like a trip setter.
He actually can help both you and himself specifically if he's under the influence. Not necessarily under the influence of any specific drug. He's just good with being out of his mind. That's his specialty.
All right.
With this hallucination, is it like actual substance abuse, or is it more just mental projection? Because wouldn't using blue mushrooms, which are meant to kill drug effects, would that have any effect on it?
For that, I think you should talk to Sachiko.
Ooh.
Well, I remember that it was electromagnetic waves that caused the hallucinations, not any kind of substance that would enter the body. So,
Alright, well, I'm not trying to push Cinder to do something she doesn't want to do. But with electromagnetic waves, me and Artemis have chips in the back of our necks, probably connected to our nervous systems. So I'm not too sure that'll go well for us.
well, yeah, I guess this is why that you can sense it farther. I don't think it works only on chips. I think if we get close to it, all of us would. But from afar, only you two can.
Because Artemis will be taking Noel with him, because he made a little sedative gun thing that just shoots a sedative, he'll show it to Noel, and if I do start tripping, though, would it actually help him calm down or just knock him out or anything? And help him not, I don't know, do something stupid?
Yeah.
Ideal.
Yeah, but do you really want to be tranquilized in front of a Kevin monster?
Yeah, because you probably become very weak rapidly. Especially
I'm
when
talking
it's
like
being,
worst case scenario, Artem starts like choking himself or punching himself in the face. Like I'm not talking just he starts freaking out a bit and then you just bam sedative.
Oh yes, and then I'll use all my muscles to save you.
Yeah. Hey, I don't even have a plan about what I'm gonna do once I find Kevin. So
I'm not sure if I'm brave enough to shoot Artemis.
To be fair, if we just barely took down Amelia, how are we going to take
this
down...
thing's gonna be a piece of cake.
No.
How are we going to take down something that we can't even see?
Well, I'm gonna locate it, and then hopefully we'll get some idea about where it is. Then we can also know like where to avoid somewhat, and just in general learn about the room and the building.
I guess if we go in a group, the first thing we should do is that wherever Kevin Logan is, we should place someone somewhere outside of the hallucination range just so that they look and make sure that the clone Logan is not attacking us.
Yeah, they can have a string to like pull the hallucinating people back as well. Giant string.
I love you all very dearly. I really do.
Please, this is like the time I shine, where everyone's tripping like fuck, and I'm like, haha.
Yeah, don't take this away from him, Cinder.
I just...
This is my character arc that you're fucking battling, you bitch. This is.
No, I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm saying we should go about it a little bit more tactically and a little bit...
String.
We shouldn't dive their deep first, is what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should go around and check to see the dangers. Have the chip on once in a while through each room to see if it gets stronger. Find which rooms are safe, which rooms we can get more supplies for, so that way when we do eventually get to the point of fighting these scary-ass monsters, we're prepared.
So I want to see if I can locate and see the viruses themselves and learn through that how they are so fucking learnable with the microscopes.
Here's something that you find. The changes seem to happen with timings of around the season. So each 4 months, it seems like there is a huge jump in which every strain becomes alike and at the same time seems to adapt to completely different environments. That's one of the things you detect, just from the die-off of the different remaining viruses and cells that they create.
And don't I learn why this happened?
The only evidence you could connect it to is perhaps it's related to the storm. Whatever happens during the storm, somehow these viruses change. And how they communicate, that is exactly the mystery. You don't know how they communicate. But all of them change in ways that are very obviously them learning from one another and getting some of each other's features.
So even looking at them under the microscope doesn't tell me how they do it?
No, in fact, it reassures you the viruses and the organisms that come from those viruses and the genetic mutations, anything, none of them have the ability to communicate.
So it's a natural process.
It seems way too engineered to be a natural process.
What I want to do is I want to go to the fridge, get one of the corpses, cut one of its fingers off, then inject that finger with Emilia's blood, and then look under the microscope what happens to that finger.
So you wait for it to unfreeze, and then you inject it and try to see what happens. The viruses start to work each to their own. A lot of it is conflicting, so they battle each other, they cause lots of problems for one another. You see the fingers start to mutate and get other airborne stuff in it as well that also affect it. But at the end, the same battle between the strains of virus that are taking over and doing things doesn't reach anywhere. The mutations eat up all of any nutrition it could have in it and can't produce anything.
Succ just shows her middle finger to the finger, and then she turns to Artemis and says, I hope Jesus Christ was here so I could kick him in the balls.